Hello all and welcome to episode 59 of the 3-for-1 Sky Fantasy podcast by Fantasy Football Hub, with red flags rife and transfers being sprinkled like confetti. My name is Fergi and I'm joined tonight by two of the most successful Sky managers in the game. Firstly, Paul McAnulty. How was your game week 6 gone, Paul?
Yeah, I've had a really good week, Fergie. 131 points. So
131?
Up to 260, fourth overall. So
Oof.
I have been fortunate with the injuries. I did have Webster, but he was heavily owned. But Sarr came to my rescue yesterday.
Oh, nice. Sarr, he looks really good as well for the couple of weeks. I probably didn't give him enough attention as maybe I should have at Overhaul. But looking, how I think they got Newcastle next and then Leeds. Their defences are just absolutely all over the shop, and so he looks a really, really good shout. Notice Josh King played in the centre for them yesterday and pushed Dennis out left. Could be interesting at some point. Well done, Paul. We're also rejoined by former champ, the Chief, Dan Cox. Dan, has your team been affected by all these injuries, or have you got away with it?
I started with Calvert-Lewin last minute. I put him in for Lukaku, so what a donut. Do you know what I mean? So I had him on Monday, so I was fuming. Not too bad. So hang on, I'm trying to think who I didn't have. Just Rodri. Mine's gone blank. Sorry, mate. Hang on, who have I got?
You've only had a week to prepare.
Yeah.
This wouldn't happen on bite size.
This wouldn't happen on bite size, let me tell you.
No, I was all right, apart from Calvert-Lewin. That was annoying. And then in one of my teams, I put in Richarlison. And then he didn't play yesterday because I thought at least he's got Villa.
Okay.
But not 114 points. If I got the 3 Chelsea boys who kept me a clean sheet and a goal. And if it hadn't been for them, that would have really been bad. But 114 points, 1,661st. I'll take it. It's only 44 points off the top 100. So it's all right.
Very nice indeed. My two teams are quite similar. There's only a couple of points aside. I think one scored 121 and maybe 119 or something like that. Had that Rudiger goal at the end was lovely, wasn't it? And Gary Mantle in the chat, let's hear it for Rudiger. That was a beauty. I did see that Flowerpot Man captained him as well, so well done for a very nice 32 pointer there. But yeah, I've been quite fortunate with injuries. I had Webster. Well, I'll say that. I had Webster and I had Calvert-Lewin, so I shifted those on. I always had a plan to do Calvert-Lewin back to DS anyway, and I shifted Webster on to Gallagher for the captaincy next Monday. But other than that, pretty good. Salah cap, Ronaldo cap. Gutted about Mendy today. That was really disappointing because he's still reasonably low owned. As in, like I think we'll check in a bit, but I think it was something like 35% owned in the top 1K. You'd think that had risen more today, but yeah, that would have been
a lot of people did the Pickford to Mendy move.
They did.
I just when it said Kepa's in, it's like, what? And then, oh yeah, we did get a knock at the end of Champions League. I was like, oh, this is the first I'm hearing about this.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like Ian had mentioned on Friday night, he'd asked me like the way that I used to set up the team was I was thinking about what my wildcard team would be and how I would get to there. And Mendy would be my goalkeeper of choice. And it's just I didn't have the budget to move on to him today. So I was fortunate by not doing it, but it's really unfortunate for those that made the move. It's
9 points down the drain there is because I don't think he made a save, did he? Or maybe one from Kane from like 30 yards or something. So it would have been a really easy 9 points from him as well. But there we go. Those are the breaks. For any new watchers and listeners, you are very, very welcome. If you haven't subscribed to us yet, please press the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen and set the alerts so you don't miss our live streams, which are 9 p.m. every Sunday evening right here on this channel. Also, please press the like button if you haven't already, if you enjoy our content. And let us know how you started this Sky Fantasy season as we are live. Please feel free to join the chat at any time. Let us know your thoughts on the topics or the relevant sections, and feel free to ask some questions throughout. Good evening, everybody. We have Sussex Martlet, Jason Harry, Chris Moller, Metallica scored 91 points and 4 players either didn't play or suspended. Dale Turner scored 98, but he had Webster. Pickford to Mendy, and to top it off, Jorginho finished on 59 passes, which is a bit of a kick there. Good evening, Albert. Gordon Hamilton, Joseph Robertson, Michael Chappell, and everyone else who was in the chat. Great to have you with us this evening. This evening we have some Game Week 6 match reports to you from Paul, who's going to run us through all the bonus points. Dan will talk us through the last week's transfers in and out and what it means for the top 1k player ownership, which is starting now to take shape. We'll look ahead to Sky Game Week 7, which could be interesting because there's a big thing about whether we bring in Harry Kane, who I believe has only had, I think it's 5 shots in 5, in his, all season. I was going to say 5 shots in 5 games. Obviously, he missed the first 2. He's only had 5 shots in 3 games, which doesn't look good, but it does look a nice spot to bring him in, so we'll touch on that. We have lots of questions on Twitter as usual. We'll finish off with some mini league updates and a much overdue Dan's rant. Dan, I hope you're pent up with frustration and anger just at, everyday life. So firstly, bonus points. Paul, do you want to run us through starting off with Friday evening?
Yeah, so Friday evening's Newcastle against Leeds, both goalkeepers. So the Newcastle keeper never keeps many clean sheets in the season, but always does well in the Sky game based on the bonus points. So Darlow made 9 saves, Mesley made 6 saves, so both picked up bonus there. Manquillo picked up tackle bonus. I seen there was the highest open team in Sky had brought in Manquillo on Friday night and captained him. So although people were probably laughing that I had a look at that, it was still a 5-point return for Manquillo picking up tier 2 tackle bonus. St. Maximin picked up tier 2 shots bonus.
He was an animal, wasn't he? He was absolutely superb.
Nice haul for him, 14-pointer, doubled up to 28 for those that took the captaincy risk on him there. From Leeds side, as I say, Mesley picked up saves bonus. Cooper, who we had talked about on last week's pod, picked up double bonus, so picked up tier 1 tackles and just made tier 2 passes bonus. So again, a nice haul for Cooper. Ayling picked up tier 1 passes, unlucky not to pick up tackle bonus. He had 3 successful tackles. Cleek picked up shooting bonus, and Rafinha also picked up shooting bonus. So again, a nice little haul for those that picked up Rafinha. 11 doubled up to 22 on the captaincy.
I suppose just to point out there, if you look at Ayling picked up 71 passes. He did that a lot last season when he played at centre back, but the fullbacks only got 45 and 34 respectively. So it's probably just worth mentioning that those who are interested in Ayling, he's probably not going to play at centre back for much of the season, and I believe he got injured anyway, didn't he? Or he had a knock at the end, but it's probably just worth pointing that out.
The early game on Saturday was Wolves against Brentford, so not many bonus kicking about. Those that might have taken a punt on Kilman, he was 6.2 million from Wolves. Maybe moving on Webster to him. He just made passing, so 60 passes for Kilman, tier 1 passes. Cody picked up tier 1 tackles, and Ruben Neves picked up tier 1 passes also. And then Janelt from Brentford picked up tier 1 tackle bonus. So as I say, not many bonus flying about in that game. Burnley Arsenal, and Ramsdale picked up tier 1 saves bonus. He could be a good option for those that are looking for goalkeeper changes, those that might still be on Pickford. Obviously, we'll get more news about Mendy during the week if he's out for longer term. Ramsdale might be the move if we're looking to get an Arsenal captaincy cover for the 2 games in there. McNeil picked up tier 2 tackle bonus from Burnley, so there was only 1 apiece on the bonus side from the Burnley Arsenal game.
Ben White. Ben White, only 48. He's fallen short in twice. He's fallen short twice now. I haven't watched their games. Has he looked? Are they looking like they're tippy tappying or not?
Well, the fact that the Arsenal keeper made more saves than Nick Pope in goals for Burnley makes me think that Arsenal are so susceptible at the back. I watched Match of the Day at the end, and they did look like there was a lot of gaps. There was that kind of split second decision that looked like it was a penalty to begin with, but Ramsdale actually got the ball. So yeah, I'm still not overly convinced on the Arsenal defensive setup. It's not like last season when Rob Holding was constantly picking up the tier 2 passing bonus, and Gabriel as well. He was unlucky actually. He had 3 successful tackles, so he just missed out on bonus from there.
Sorry, Paulie. Did how far ahead was Gabriel of White with the passes?
He was behind him.
So White did more, yeah.
Yeah, so White had 48 and Gabriel had 45, and that's against Burnley. You'd expect players of the kind of high possession teams to be picking up passing bonus in that fixture as well. So bit of a concern. Wood and Barnes don't overly press too much. I know they play 2 up front, so maybe there is that factor, but teams do tend to pick up passing bonus against Burnley, so maybe a little bit concerning there from those that are expecting bonus from the 2 centre halves. Is Gabriel someone you were looking at for potentially for those 2 single days, Dan?
Yeah, like last season, I liked him a lot. I just wondered whether he had more. Like, I knew White didn't get any passing. I wondered if that was because Gabriel was sort of taking all the passing, or what. So here's a bit of a worry.
Tierney only 20 passes as well from left back. He did come off after 78 minutes, but he's always concerning me. Tierney, like, seems to always have some niggling injury underlying.
Well, sorry, going ahead to that Crystal Palace, the Crystal Palace, Arsenal Villa. Palace give up quite a bit of possession, didn't they? Well, actually, they've been doing more passing, haven't they?
Yeah, it was only one Liverpool player picked up passing bonus against Crystal Palace at the weekend. I think the guy that they had signed from Chelsea, is it Guay, plays centre half. He was looking good for passes in some of the earlier games this season as well. So you can see like kind of a change in tactics from Crystal Palace this season under Vieira, I think.
So Ben White might not be the one for them 2 single days.
Yeah,
clean sheet or nothing. Then
I think if Ramsdale was like, if there wasn't a fear that Leno would potentially come back in for some rotation, I think Ramsdale could be a really good shout.
Yeah, he's good price as well.
Yeah. So Liverpool Crystal Palace, as I say, there wasn't much from the bonus stats from Liverpool in this either. Milner got double bonus, but nobody's really going to consider him as an option. He was only playing because Trent was unwell. Salah with 5 shots on target. Was probably unlucky only to get what he did in the end. So he picked up tier 2 shots, and then Keita came on. He had tier 1 shots. Sorry, from Crystal Palace's point of view, Guaita tier 2 saves, Mitchell and Guay tier 2 tackles, and Joe Ward tier 1 tackles. Man City Southampton, so surprisingly a lack of bonus in this game as well. Diaz tier 2 passes, Cancelo did the double, tier 1 and tier 1 passes, tier 1 tackles. Elyounoussi, who I know a lot of people had punted on from Southampton, was he 6.2 or 6.3? I can't remember. It was one of
6.3, I think.
Yeah, so it was in that ballpark. I know a lot of people that was going the 3 heavy hitters up front, was looking to save some budget in places. He had 1 shot on target, so no bonus there, but had picked up tier 1 tackles, so a 4-point return for him, which wasn't too bad. Norwich Watford, Krul tier 2 saves, Gilmore tier 2 tackles, so Gilmore's relatively well owned in the kind of top 1,000 thereabouts, 6.9 million, 5 successful tackles there. Is it Rashika? Is it Dan? I don't know.
Yeah, if you say so.
Yeah. Tier one shots there.
No one ever asked me how to pronounce footballers' names.
Watford, Foster came in and replaced the injured backman. He got tier 1 saves. Cooker got tier 1 tackles. Dennis tier 1 shots, and Sarr tier 2 shots with 5 shots on target, which is pretty impressive. I'm sure he'll come up in conversation quite a bit. And I say I was fortunate enough to own him at the weekend. I did the match of the day challenge as well, so I wasn't looking at the notifications coming in. And he was, even before he scored, in match of the day we're highlighting him quite a bit. So I had a feeling that he might have done well in the second half, which he did do.
It was the second game as well, wasn't it? Was it the second game on match of the day? It was.
Yeah. So you knew there was. So you knew there was goal. You knew there was goals that was in before the Man City game. Yeah. And the late kick-off on Saturday, it was Villa 3, Everton 0. The only 2 players to pick up bonus there was Allen and Doucouré, both picking up tackle bonus. Allen tier 1 tackles. I know a lot of people were looking at him at overhaul to cover that Everton captaincy and kind of budget enabler in midfield. I didn't really fancy him just because under Benitez they're never going to get passing bonus at Everton. Offers like very, very little in an attacking threat. Doucouré looks more attack minded. Say he got tier 2 tackles, 6 successful tackles, so a nice 5-point return for him. And then moving on to the 3 games that are today. So we got Brighton against Leicester. Brighton were well off the passes, which I was kind of potential, like I was expecting them to do better on that front. It was Bissouma picked up tier 1 tackles, Welbeck tier 1 shots, Schmeichel tier 1 saves, Vestergaard absolutely smashed the passes, so he got 83 successful passes, 3 successful tackles as well, so he was unlucky on that front. And Pereira got 4 successful tackles, so tier 1 tackles for Pereira. Those that had Van Dide, like, so unlucky. Goal chalked off, 47 passes, 3 successful tackles. Really, really unfortunate. And the same could be said about Tielemans as well. He did pick up the assist, so he got 5 points, but 2 passes off passing bonus, 1 tackle off tackle bonus. Really unfortunate for owners of Tielemans.
I got Ndidi.
Yeah, you own Ndidi.
I got Tielemans.
And you've got Tielemans, Fergi, right? Yeah. West Ham against Man United. Fabianski 8 saves, so picked up tier 2 saves. Souček, tier 2 tackles. Rice, tier 1 passes. Bowen, tier 1 shots. None of those players are particularly well owned in the top 1,000. De Gea, tier 1 saves. Varane, well in front of Maguire, strangely enough, like well in front, like over double the amount of passes. So Maguire, 42 successful passes. Varane, 87. So he picked up tier 2 passing. Fernandes, tier 1 shots. Fred, shots and tackles double up. And Ronaldo had 5 shots on target, so picked up the shooting bonus. And then just to round this off, Spurs, 0, Chelsea 3. Lloris, tier 2 saves. Emerson, tier 2 tackles. Rudiger, tier 1 shots, which was welcomed by the mass owners in and around the top 1,000 there. Silva, tier 1 shots. Alonso, tier 1 shots. And Kovacic got tier 2 tackles. That rounds off the bonus. So in summary, it was 11 players picked up passing bonus at the weekend, which was surprisingly low. 15 players picked up a shooting bonus. 10 of the 20 keepers picked up saves bonus, which is more of a kick in the teeth for those that did the Pickford to kind of Mendy move and never had a playing keeper. And 22 players picked up tackle bonus.
How unlucky was Ronaldo, mind? He should have definitely, like that last penalty shout where Zuma just absolutely wiped him out. And the others were debatable, but that one was so close. And he also had a shot which he hits straight at the keeper, which is a good save, but he could have easily had a hat-trick today. I was contemplating on taking him out because of this, how the fixtures fall now with the captaincies, but it's going to be really hard. And I think it's the same for Salah as well. He looks so dangerous every game he plays. And obviously Lukaku, okay, he had an off-ish day this afternoon, but he could have scored, easily scored a goal at the end. It's going to be really, really tough. I know we'll get into it when we look at the fixtures, but moving on then. Dan, most transferred in for the last week.
Let me just load it up. So most transferred in since last Sunday, Ronaldo leads the way, 17,000 teams. Then Lukaku. I brought in Lukaku. I knew he weren't going to get anything today, really. And I did have him in my team. I took him out, so it's obviously gutted with it. Duffy, third, into almost 9,000 teams at this point today. But he is a really good price. Damari Gray, who'd have thought that at the start of the season, but just under 9,000 teams. Another goal on Monday when most people probably had him as captain when they wanted him. So can't argue with that. Marçal, great price, and he's 6.4. Did look a bit of a donkey though yesterday, didn't he? And into 7,000 teams, most people probably would have got one eye on getting rid of him, or might have took him out already. Maxim on a Friday night, again, if he was your captain, brilliant, into just under 6,000 teams. The other ones are sort of mentioned here. I won't go through the old list because you can see him on there. Alonso there into a lot of over 5,000 teams. Again, been doing amazing, but I just worried about Chilwell coming back in.
It's crazy how he's played. I think that Chilwell has played. Has he played one? He started one. Is it a Champions League game or something along those lines? Or he even started one. He may have come off the bench, but I just think it's crazy how Alonso's playing every single game. What do you think now, guys? I know, it's obviously really, really hard question to answer. But what's your gut say? These next run of 5 or 6 games for Chelsea, which are absolutely insane after next week. Paul, do you think that Alonso's going to retain his place?
There must be something in it, right? There has to be something in it, because Chilwell was in favour at the end of last season. He was playing all the games, and the fact that he's not even getting rotated, he doesn't form part of the rotation that's happening just now. under Tuchel. We know how much he likes to rotate. There must be something in it. I think, yeah, definitely. I think Alonso's a great shout. It's one of those ones it's one of those moves that I feel like I never ever make, and
I know.
And maybe that's the difference between me finishing like right at the very, very top now. That always kind of feel like I'm now bottling these moves, but it always feels like with Chelsea's run as well. Even if he played, that strong run of 7 or 8 games that's coming up, even if he played 5 of those games, you could see him hauling in quite a few of them as well. So,
and he's 7.9 million. That's just mad, isn't it? Like, even if he played every other week or something, you'd still be, because when he's playing, he's going to be getting assists and stuff like that. It's just, I just can't see him dropping him how he's playing at the minute. You'd be mad, wouldn't you? So
I've caught myself a little bit, in terms of the strikers, because I've got very little cash left, and currently because of the injuries, I'm on a 4-4-2, and I'm very, very tempted. I could do something like, I've got my field at the moment. I could easily do like Tielemans down to Alonso, which basically means then I have the pick of the strikers, and I can have any two at any time. Whereas the way I'm kind of happening at the moment, because I've got 0.1 in the bank, I can't even do Ronaldo to Kane at the moment. I can only do Salah to Kane. So it's fair. So doing something like that is incredibly tempting. But on the same note, it's that whole thing in it of taking out, a perfectly good option in Tielemans, who is about to embark actually from this weekend on a really good run of fixtures. I think I've also got Ward-Prowse, who from, I think, Sky Gameweek 9 goes on an amazing run of fixtures. He brought him for a specific reason, but then, you'd be happy if they scored 4 or 5 points, whereas Alonso just keeps racking up 9, 10, 12, 15 pointers. You just think, oh my goodness. And there's, like, as you say, Paul, this is maybe where other people kind of steal the march, don't they? And every single week, it's like, oh, he won't start. He won't start next week. He won't start next week. But it's tougher. What do you think?
It's hard as well. It's hard with Tielemans and Ward-Prowse as well. I always think that those type of players, it's really, really hard to predict where their points are coming from. Exactly. They can easily get hauls against the big teams, and then the 2-2-2 runs against the lower teams as well.
What do you think, Dan? Are you honestly like thinking of bringing him in the next week or two? Obviously, they've got Man City next week, so that's, you could probably leave him for that one. But after that, their run is absolutely crazy.
Let me quickly get the fixtures up. So Man City, because they keep playing on Saturdays as well, don't help, does it? It's not like you can, have someone play on a Saturday, then flip him to Alonso on a Sunday. So I don't know. When you think he's 0.3 more than like Vestergaard or something like that, it's just, I don't know. I might have to have a look at my team and get him in, because he was just always involved today. I watched the whole game and it was just like, God, like he's just, I don't know.
He's one of those.
God, I just need to have him in.
You do. He's one of those players, isn't he? You just think, oh, he can't keep it going. We've all got them right, where these players just go on runs and you just can never find the right time, or there's always a reason kind of not to do it. But maybe it is just a case of get him in, and because of his price, he's an easy move on anyway, right? To Sarr, St. Maximum, another defender, someone like that. Maybe it's just a case of see if he starts against Southampton. AD says the next 2 you get to see the lineups, so you can check. So yeah, maybe in that Southampton game, miss him next. Happy to skip him next week, but if you can see the lineup against Southampton, if they're playing early for that one and he's starting, I'd be incredibly tempted to do that.
I think the problem is watching games. Like I watched Spurs Palace last week, and I didn't have Gallagher. I knew Paul had him, and I was watching him. I think he was everywhere, taking the corners and getting involved, and got the assist and the tackles. And I'm like, God, I need to have him in. Then I watched Newcastle, and I was like, St. Maxim, need to have him in. And I'm thinking, I should stop watching football, because I then look at all these players and think, when I won, I never watched it. I didn't watch a single game that season. Probably it's what I should go back to.
Seems to be, a lot of the players, a lot of the charismatic sort of players seem to enjoy playing in front of the crowds again. I think, people like Ronaldo, St. Maximin, Adama Traore, all these kind of players are really like trying to they're really trying to like turn it on for the crowds, and and getting a buzz, an adrenaline rush off the crowds, and they and they really are turning it on. They're in sensational form. It's amazing for the Premier League. I mean, I can't remember a start like this in the Premier League where we've seen such drama, amazing sort of quality, and it's been absolutely fantastic. Transfers out then, Dan.
I'll just finish off on the transfers in. The last one that I'd sort of noted was Matip into 4,600.
Killer.
Typical that he don't then play this weekend, innit? And then Mendy brought in by a lot, and can't blame him. Bring him in today. Didn't know he was going to be out. How can you? What can you do? So he was into 2,500 teams. So what can you do?
And you do. Transferred out Antonio at the top of the pile, even though he's got Leeds next. It could be an incredible fixture for him.
Hang on, mate. I'm trying to load. I'm trying to do it on my computer because I normally look down on my phone. Then everyone thinks I'm asleep.
Bring back the pen and paper.
Oh, I'm going to have to.
Pen and
right.
paper.
Give up with that. Not working, is it? Scrap that. Get rid of that. Okay, so Antonio out of 30,000 teams. Well, yeah, he's had a red card, and you could get a lot of 3-for-1s.
That's massive, isn't it? That's huge.
Yeah, but the amount of games you can get out of Bamford or Calvert-Lewin like that. So yeah, don't blame. I can see why that's happened. So yeah, he was the top one out. Tanganga out of 13,000 teams. Again, the suspension, and I can see why. Calvert-Lewin, the donkey, out of 6,700. So frustrating, and to spend all that time on an Oval team and then start with someone who's injured and was an injury doubt. Probably more annoyed with myself. Webster injured, had him myself. That was one I couldn't remember. I tried to blank it out from memory. That's 6,700 teams. Harry Kane out of 6,300. A lot of people possibly looking at bringing him in now for captaincy, but in the way Spurs have been, and his, hadn't had any shots or touches in the opponent's box and stuff like that. It's probably 2 games in a row. I can see why people are now thinking maybe not. Main ones really. These are the ones that would annoy you. Son supposed to be out for a while. Obviously started today when he out of 5,500 teams. I know he didn't get any points, but Ben Rama, there was a bit on Twitter, weren't there, Friday? He was injured, this, that, and the other. Out of 4,000 teams, he scored. Brilliant. Christensen out of 2,700, clean sheet, started. And then Ferran Torres out of just under 2,000 teams. People are getting a bit fed up.
We've had a question.
Goals, so.
We've had a few questions on Torres that if they hold him, should they keep him? And it's so hard to, with the way that the Chelsea defenders in particular, are obviously performing. Is Torres to a Chelsea defender, if the formation allows, is that just a really, really obvious move now? Or would you go down to maybe someone like a Sarr or a St. Maximum, or maybe look at the captaincies? Would you hold on to him now if you had him down?
I'd probably get rid, to be honest. I haven't got him, so it's easy for me to say, but I'd say, yeah, I'll get rid of him. Because if I say whatever people say, I'm not saying an answer. But yeah, I think get rid of him, because you think like Sarr. I'm watching Sarr thinking like, God, he's so cheap. What is he, 7.8 or something like that? And, what could you do with that extra money? You could turn a Matip into a Cancelo or something like that, potentially. So, yeah. Yeah, so I think get rid. I just don't know with Man City.
You don't see him. You don't see the man after the Chelsea game. You don't see the next 4 Man City lineups as well. So it's not even as if you were going for a rogue. If you're going for a rogue captaincy, because if I saw Man City team sheet and Torres was playing, there'd definitely be a consideration for captaincy there. But the fact that you can't see the team sheets kind of put me off having Man City players other than Diaz.
I think with Torres, I think in FPL and in Dream Team, he's fine to hold because of the way the game plays. If you like in FPL, you would have got a bench player on, and in Dream Team, you play because the Champions League as well. But in Sky Premier League only, it's such a tough, it's a tough hold. So I think I'd be getting rid as well. Onto the ownership, Dan, at the top 1K.
Yeah, Salah 95% of teams, and then Ronaldo 87%. Not surprised at all to see those two up there. Rafinha 70%. He just looked like that goal he scored was great. I know the dummy was great, but he looks great. Although I thought that might have gone down a bit because with this injury. I remember had him last season. He was out for a little bit of an injury, which seemed to drag on and on. So I had him and thought, I'll ship him on because I just don't want to have him in, and then I'm getting annoyed that he's missed another week. So I'm surprised he's still 70%.
He played though, like with the injury, didn't he? He
went off.
Yeah, he
went off just after 60 minutes.
Yeah, he had the injury and he played anyway. So I wonder whether they just said, I don't know, he's done his job. Let's try and save him for kind of next week rather than taking him off because he's injured.
Weird, they weren't, because they weren't. That was, I'm sure it was 1-1 at the time, wasn't it? So it's not like they were winning that. I just don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
But anyway, I'm concerned because I remember last season that he had this injury and that dragged on and on. So I just got him straight out. Damari Gray, please stop scoring. I ain't got him and gutted, in it. Like, he's had 3 shots. Well, no, he did miss at the weekend, didn't he? Should have scored even Saturday, shouldn't he? I saw that one fly by the post. So yeah, he's in 64%. Rudiger, 50%. So a lot of people were quite happy today with him. Yes, 44. Trent, 36. Unfortunately, I think he's ill. I don't know whether he would have been rotated on the weekend. But
Klopp had come out and said that he was definitely. I think Klopp had come out and said he was definitely going to play, and it was only because he was ill that he didn't.
Marcel, 34%. Like I said, I heard I didn't watch the game, but I heard Paul McAnulty was pretty dreadful, so that's a bit of concern. Lukaku, 32. Mendy, the Chelsea goalkeeper, not the one in prison, 32%. Just unfortunate, isn't it? Like, I didn't really hear anything, and I wouldn't have been against bringing him in myself. I think I said to people to bring him in, so just unfortunate. It's just bad luck. Torres, 27%.
It's high, innit? It's high, blimey.
Yeah, he's in a lot, 27. Benrahma, 27. I thought that might have gone down with this sort of injury doubt. Gallagher's gone up, 26%. Sarr, Paul's guy there, 20%. So yeah, he's in quite a lot of teams where I'm thinking he's a bit of concern now with the fixtures coming up. Whip him in. So I might bring him in. Duffy, obviously very popular as Brighton played today. And yeah, Cancelo, Antonio, Traore makes the rest of the top 20.
Looks like Rudiger looks to be kind of last season's Diaz in terms of the price. Just absolutely should be nailed on everyone's team. Is it fair to say, Paul? Do you think that?
Yeah, I think so. I think those that don't already have him will probably be moving him in for this run of Chelsea games coming up.
I have seen that he hasn't signed a new contract, and apparently he's very open to signing a pre-contract in January for another club, which surprises me. I don't know if it concerns me, but it surprises me in terms of, like, they're clearly, well, I say clearly, they're definitely in the top 2 teams in the Premier League, and probably the top 2 in Europe as well. I mean, where else would you want to go? It must be a personal thing, right? He's the main man in that defence. He's the absolute staple. Won the Champions League. Favourites for the title this year. But yeah, I have read that, which is just a slight concern, obviously. But you've got to have him in, right, at his price. He's just he's unbelievable, and as we saw earlier, he's got the attacking threat there as well, haven't he? So we've got the average remaining transfers. We did show these on the stream on Friday, and they've very likely changed. This is from last Wednesday. But Dan, do you just want to touch on these before we move on to next week?
Have you got them to add, mate?
I have, yeah. I'll run through them. So top 5,036 left. Top 1,035.1. Top 100, 29.2. And top 10, 24.5. As I said, very, very likely that those averages will have gone down with all the injuries, wouldn't they be, over this weekend?
Yeah, it's always, and for anyone new, it is always like that. The teams, you sort of look at the teams at the top and think, oh my God, they're 100 points ahead of me or whatever. But most of them, not Johnny Belfast, he ain't, but like the rest have used like 15, 20 transfers. So it's not even worth looking at. Yes, obviously there'll be 1 or 2 in there sort of thing, but most of them, they just burn through the transfers, don't they? Like, they either think you get another 40 at Christmas, or it's like FPO, you can take hits, or they're just trying to win the PlayStation 5 Manager of the Month, or just want to be up there. But yeah, it just shows you that, don't worry, just keep going along, and you'll be all right.
So looking then at game week 7, and firstly, this is the interesting one. So this is Chelsea and Man City on first at 12:30. And I suppose it's interesting for a couple of reasons. One, in terms of, you just mentioned Alonso, right? So if I was thinking, actually, I've also got Rafinha. So if we do get news that Rafinha's going to be out for a couple of weeks, Rafinha down to Alonso looks to be a really nice move there. But probably more pertinently is Mendy, because we get to see the lineups with Mendy. And if we get news that Mendy is out for a couple of weeks, Dan, would you be tempted to move him on? Or is this one where you just kind of ride out? If they say 2 to 3 weeks, just as an example, bear in mind we've got an international break as well, so he will only likely miss, I think, a couple of games. Is it worth moving him on, or would you hold him?
No, I'd hold him. Like, I've got Rodri. Hadn't heard anything, but apparently that's 3 to 4 weeks. But you're talking 2 games possibly, aren't you? Because with the international break. So I'd hold, if it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks, I think I'd hold him, because he is good, Mendy. So I think just suck up the 2 games where you're not going to get any points, and then hopefully he's back for the one after the international break.
Same for you, Paul?
Yeah, exactly the same.
Yeah,
I don't know who you'd want. I don't know who you'd want. Maybe Alisson, but if you're going to want Mendy long term for that Chelsea run anyway, then yeah, I would definitely.
It's not just a run with Mendy though either, is it? He's like, they are the best. Well, I say they're the best defence. Statistically, Man City are the best defence. I was surprised earlier. I was looking earlier at XG and expected goals conceded, and Chelsea actually, their XGC is pretty is very average. Actually, it was kind of middle of the table. They've expected goals conceded of 6.1 in 5 games, whereas Man City is only 2. It's, all of Mendy's saves last week probably contributed to a lot of that. Actually, he was awesome last week, Bonnie. But yeah, they're probably just worth saying, that the scoreline probably last week against Villa, I think, flattered Chelsea, and the first half this week, Spurs could easily have scored as well. So I do think obviously they're amazing options and they'll be fine, but it is worth noting that they're not like, they are still conceding a fair few shots in most games as last week goes. So after that, then we have Man United and Villa. Actually, is also at 12:30, so we get to see Captain Ronaldo probably, just to make sure he's starting there. I feel sorry for Bruno holders, for those who went Bruno, over Ronaldo, because I think all us 3 went for Ronaldo, but it was a leap of faith, right? Because Bruno's just been so good. I think we've landed on the right side of it, but it's tough for those who went for Bruno. Everton and Norwich at 3:00. Leeds and West Ham. What a game that should be. Leicester and Burnley, Watford, Newcastle, Brentford, and Liverpool. So Dan, best captaincy option for Saturday. Who's it on?
I think I'll be on Ronaldo, just because I can see he starts. I'd like Salah away to Brentford, but I think he would start when they got Carabao Cup in the week. But I just Ronaldo. He's starting. Play it safe. I don't want to take any risks with how things have been going this season.
Same with you, Paul?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Ronaldo. He looked so dangerous earlier, didn't he? He's like, for those who've watched him play, in Spain and Italy and all this as well. You can just see this afternoon if you hadn't, just how desperate he is just to score goals and just win every game. He's just he's unbelievable, and his runs, his pace, his shot edge, just everything about him looks. He's probably as good as we thought he would be, which is quite a testament, really. We got John in the chat. Newbie, first ever Sky season, overall rank 55. Very well played there, John, indeed. Absolutely brilliant stuff there. And John also says, missed the start. Where is Ian, the GOAT, Parrin? Ian will be on again in a few weeks. Don't worry about that. And FPL Hazard say, how can Dan be on a live stream but can't view it? Rant over. Why, Dan? Why can't you view the live stream?
I ain't got all the for you haven't got YouTube, have you? So Fergie's got all the well, do you know what? I don't want to, because I'm in my garage, I don't want to have YouTube running and then I'll go all glitchy because I've got something else running on it.
That makes sense.
Do you know what I mean? So I can't see when all the slides come up. I can't see them, so that's why I normally have them on my phone. So I'm then looking at this, but when I look down at that, people think I'm having a kip. So do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm playing it. Yeah, I'll be on Ronaldo as well, definitely on Saturday. On to Sunday then. This one is a bit more interesting. Southampton v Wolves, and then Arsenal v Spurs. Now, in terms of planning, we had Ian on a couple of times at the start of the season, and this will look to be a kind of natural hop-off point for potentially Salah or Ronaldo. to jump onto Kane, who, with Spurs also having a really good captaincy day the following Sunday as well. Hang on, I've got my page in front of me on on Sunday, the 17th of October, they've got a good captaincy day against Newcastle, where Everton have West Ham as well. But in that time, if you did go off Salah, who has looked very sharp, you would miss Man City, and you would almost miss Watford, which is probably the scarier one. And if you went on off United, so off Ronaldo, you would miss Everton at home, who's probably the standout captaincy option on that day if you haven't got Lukaku. And you'd also miss Leicester away as well. So a really tough decision here. Paul, can I come to you first? Obviously, we've been eyeing this up now for since the start, really. Have your thoughts changed on how obvious a move this is over the last week or two?
Yeah, so I was all set to move from Salah to Kane there. I've got the Wolves goalkeeper who isn't pulling up trees, but does offer me a captaincy option that day, and I'm really in two minds just now whether I hold and not do the Kane move, and then the following week move Ronaldo to Kane. So I'm getting Ronaldo home to Everton, like you say. You get to see the Man United team sheet home to Everton. So I'm considering that just now. Kane has got a really good scoring record against Arsenal. I don't know if that should factor into my thinking or not. He will be the most captained player, which concerns me.
I just can't see him at the moment scoring a couple of goals. He might score a goal, but Arsenal have just kept back-to-back clean sheets, and
he always does this though, right? He always starts the season really, really slow. Like it was that whole August thing with him before. Had never scored a goal in August, and then a game that you don't expect him to do well, he comes in and bangs a double, and everybody's trying to clamour to get him in and sort of all fantasy format games, but he just doesn't look like predatory. And remember Jimenez under Nuno at Wolves as well. Like even when a lot of us were considering him in our captaincy options for Wolves, how many doubles did he get? It was very, very seldom that he got more than a single goal. And I think it's the way that he sets up his teams, and it might be the same with Spurs now as well.
And how about you, Dan? Are you having kind of second thoughts on the Kane move?
Yeah, exactly the same as Paul. That was one I'd sort of Salah to Kane, done and dusted. Kit wasn't custard. And then now I'm thinking, should I just go with Sarr? And that's about where I am.
I've got Ward-Prowse, who I feel is, a fairly decent option home to Wolves. So Wolves looked very open actually against Brentford, and Southampton have actually played. I think they've played really well. I think they've only lost one game so far this season, and they've had some hard games. So I do, wonder whether this is the time actually that Southampton can actually do a good start. And I know I'd be gutted as well. Like if I bring in Kane and captain Kane, and Kane is absolutely nothing, and Ward-Prowse has a decent game, maybe gets an assist or gets some bonus, I'll be gutted. So I think at the moment, for me personally, probably same as you guys at the moment, is I don't think I'm going to go with him. And in terms of the fixture which he's also got a really good fixture on Sunday, the 3rd of October, home to Villa. And that's the day where Man City play Liverpool. So he could potentially be the standout captaincy option on that day as well, is the only other issue. But then after that, obviously on Sunday the 17th, like we mentioned, which is after the international breaks, there's a lot of football to be kind of played there. And as Paul mentioned last week, the whole thing with COVID and injuries and this and that, Kane has got to play 2 league games and either 2 or 3 international games before we get to the 17th of October. Anything can happen. So I think planning a bit too far ahead for that. It's mainly that one for me, where Spurs play on Sunday the 3rd of October, which is obviously not this weekend coming out, the one after. Does that factor much into your thinking, Paul, in terms of whether you would choose Kane? Because he probably is the best option on that day.
Part of the reason, I think, the longer you can leave it, I had really, really thought about bringing in Lukaku today. I thought that he could do really well against Spurs. I thought they, like, with all the injuries that they've got just now, and then you don't benefit from bringing in a Chelsea player that's not the first game day for a while. But the reason it put me off was just this whole another week's worth of data, another week's worth of information that you've got, like you say, with the injuries, with COVID, etc. And that's kind of another reason why it's putting me off moving Kane when Kane are always, because they're playing in Europe, because they're playing in the Europa League, they're always playing on Sundays. So there's always an opportunity to kind of do the 2 for 1 or the 1 for nothing, moving players off that have played the Saturday onto Kane. So I agree that those are factors that I'm considering.
It just so happens though on that one, because City play Liverpool on the Sunday, that you're very likely going to move off Salah at that point. It would probably be Ronaldo, wouldn't it? Because Ronaldo plays on Saturday the 2nd. But yeah, no, it's all interesting stuff, and just Spurs just look so off it. Matt Woolley in the chat says, I own Kane's overhaul and I'm not happy with him as a captaincy option. Isn't passing the eye test. I completely agree. And they were Roy Keane and Souness and Micah Richards, etc., were ragging him out after the game, saying he wasn't moving, his body language and whatever else, which is not good, is it? Metallica01 in the chat says Kane looks flat to me as well. It's interesting. And Ian says JWP is the man for Sunday. So I think I might be doing that. Yeah, and I think you're right, Paul. I think you can just get a week's more information, and by that I don't mean statistical information, but how's he looking, COVID, training, injuries, all this sort of stuff. It's obviously playing such a massive part to our seasons this year, aren't they?
Other injuries to your team as well might open up the opportunity to move off someone else. Or
really good point. Okay, let's move on to some questions then, and we've had some questions. First one is off Todd Sims, who says he's reasonably happy with his team. He currently has Tielemans, who hasn't done terrible, but would you hold considering his price, or go for a cheaper mid like Sarr, or use budget to upgrade a defender? So this is kind of exactly a scenario mentioned earlier. It's the one I'm in as well, and I think for me, we brought in Tielemans as a, almost as like a season-long bonus pick, right? He got his assist earlier. As you mentioned, he finished on 58 passes and 3 tackles against a Brighton side, who are 3rd and 4th in the league. They do embark on a run now, Leicester, of fixtures. So they have Burnley this weekend, then Palace. They then have United. And they got Brentford, Arsenal, and Leeds. So they've got a decent run of games. I'm holding, I think, Todd, because you could do this every week, right? You could always move on a player who's underperforming, and then what happens, from experience a lot of the time, for me anyway, is that person then starts to actually perform in the way you'd hoped he would in the previous games. It always happens. So I don't know if that's helped at all. If you guys held Tielemans, or someone of that ilk, are you tempted to move him on, or just kind of stick to the plan at the moment?
I'll just stick to the plan, really. Like women, you just had Overhaul, haven't we? So he's not a problem player unless you need the budget to, strikers or defence or something like that. But I think just keep hold. Like you said, he's probably a season-on pick unless he's injured, obviously. But he'll tick over nicely.
Have you, Paul, same or?
Yeah, that 8 to 9 million bracket, I've said quite a few times. 2, 2, 2, 5, 2, 15, 10, 15, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. And over the season, those players will average out, but just don't try and guess the games that they'll get the points in, and just keep them in.
Cool. Plastic Pearl asks, how do passing tiers for defenders compare to last year? I'm wondering if crowds come back has encouraged teams to press more, and so we should wait passing tier potential less. So you mentioned earlier, Paul, actually thinking about those. What are your gut feels or observations around how the start of the season is playing out, and how the crowds actually being back are affecting the passing tiers?
Yeah, it's only 11 players at the weekend picked up passing bonus from the 10 games, which is incredibly low, considering Liverpool and Man City had favourable ties as well, and we're kind of barren from a passing potential. So it's difficult. it's the centre halves that I really look at from a passing bonus perspective. Midfielders don't tend to pick it up, or it's harder to determine where they come from. Where I would just be putting my focus in just now, I think the Chelsea defence. They're keeping clean sheets. They are digging out the odd passing bonus as well. I'd be focusing on my attention there.
Okay, we've answered a couple of questions of Bob Jacks around Alonso and around Kane and Spurs, also one off Brookie as well. FF Stuff, who we should obviously credit for all the graphics which we're using this evening on the podcast. If you don't follow him at FF Stuff 3, make sure you do. He simply asks, why are my teams so shit? Dan, could you answer? Could you answer that for Frank?
I do like Frank, so I don't want to. You only got yourself to blame, mate.
Oosh,
really.
Have some of that.
But all this stuff you do on your site is amazing.
Yeah. So best of luck for the.
Send us a DM. We'll try and do something. We'll do a mini overhaul or something if it's that bad.
We'll try and sort you out. Hornet asks, what would the KNO plan look like? So I think we've touched on that one. But he asks Orba in. I'm assuming he means for the Arsenal games. Just touching that, because Ian has also asked in the chat around those Arsenal games. What are your current thoughts on covering them? Obviously, we are like a month away, whatever it is. But Dan, if I was to ask you now, who's the player who would you hang your hat on for those Arsenal games? Who would it be?
I think the same one as you, mate. Our little defender, Ben White.
Would you really? Oh,
yes.
I'm glad you gave me a warm feeling inside. He's already in my team.
When you said that, I thought you were going to say
Lacazette. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh no, not horrible.
How about you, Paul?
I don't know. I was before the Burnley game thinking, maybe Aubameyang's back in form.
Yeah,
scored the goal against Norwich last week, and then he was dreadful yesterday as well. So yeah. Probably Ben White. I think him and Gabriel's that looks like the partnership now, right? So I'll keep an eye on the kind of passing stats from both of those and see how they're doing, and it might be between the two of them, but that's definitely where my thinking is just now. I actually don't have Mendy, and he was in my thoughts. And if I don't go there, I could go Ramsdale, move my keeper to Ramsdale, get the 2 games at Ramsdale, and then move on to Mendy, something like that potentially.
Ben White's either getting 40 points in them 2 games, or that it's just going to be 4.
Probably, very likely. I do like the Ramsdale shout, because I think Ramsdale, he's a good shot stopper, isn't he? So you're likely either going to get a clean sheet or you're going to get saves bonus, whereas as with White, because they're not really anywhere near the pass at the moment, though they may improve.
Paul, would you bring in Ramsdale, wait till the Palace game, or would you do it before then?
No, that's what I was thinking. If I held like Pickford or Mendy or whoever, wait out the 2 games, get the extra international break or rest period or whatever is required, and it's just a patience thing. Then I guess if Pickford's not back, it's like you feel that you might have lost out on a move. But yeah, I was considering waiting until Arsenal play. I think the historic perception of doing the goalkeeper move is don't do it. There's only so much of a ceiling. But since you won the game, Dan, you get more for clean sheets now. They lowered the tiers for the saves as well.
Yeah.
Or they introduced the 2 tiers for saves as well. So there is a higher ceiling for goalkeepers now than what there once was. So I wouldn't be adverse to moving on to Ramsdale, play the 2 games, and if you really didn't want to keep him long term, then move on to Mendy or whoever's got a really nice fixture run, or someone that's budget enables with good fixtures to kind of fix the rest of your team. I know it's two moves for goalkeepers, but it's the kind of moves that everybody will be making for an Arsenal captaincy anyway. So,
just a good point off Sussex Martlet in the chat as well, though, around Ramsdale. I think Arteta said in the week he hasn't decided who he who's his number one as well. So obviously that is worth monitoring, definitely, because he said this week, actually, didn't he, that I don't know who it is. I decide on a week-by-week basis. So that would be even
helpful,
worse, right? I know it's helpful. But that would
at least you know, though. At least you think, well, I won't bring in Ramsdale because Leonard will probably start next week. At least you've got a bit of warning.
Exactly.
Like, just hate all these ones lying to you, like Benitez and stuff, and you just don't know where you are, do you?
What will be handy is that first game that you want the Arsenal captaincy is for a Monday, and there'll be a pod the night before. So I assume at that point in time that will be the most popular question. It'll be around the Arsenal captaincy, and things might have come a bit more to light at that point as well. It's
been the most popular question since the start of the season, I think, to be honest, because it's the one that stands out like a sore thumb, doesn't it? Yeah. Chris Moller in the chat. Can anyone top his bad luck? Jose Sarr. So 0 points. Sarr, Trent, Matip, Webster injured, no Torres. So we had Torres, Rafinha injury, and Richarlison had 7 subs down to 30 left. That is tough going. So a lot of those are, really strong picks. There's no one there really you say is a bad pick. Maybe like Torres, was a punt, right? It could go kind of one way or the other. But other than that, tough luck there. And John Chappell, in all fairness, is Arteta not going to drop Ramsdale after clean sheets? Hard to argue with that as well. Let's move on quickly to a couple of others. We've answered most of them, actually. QChar Design, Fantasy Football Hub contributor. If you don't follow Rich, I always call him Richard because it's QChar. Thomas. I always say Chud.
Top guy,
he is a
nice guy, really nice guy.
And a bloody good FPL player as well, and Sky. He says, what to do with Mendy. So at the moment we're just saying, just hang on, aren't we? And just see, because you're going to want him anyway, right? So he's going to be using a couple of transfers there.
Sorry, mate. I think as well, most people have made quite a few transfers this week, haven't they, because of injuries. I think that's what might put me off Kane, just thinking like, I made more transfers than I wanted to. Let's just chill out a bit now and just try to get to the international break.
Definitely. David Rowe says, are Wolves actually CAC? Early XG stats aside, it's a really tough one because they've actually impressed in every game they've played. They just cannot score, can they? It's bizarre. Dan, you think they're CAC? Actually CAC?
Just because I've got the goalkeeper and I just think, why have I got him in?
Paul,
who would you have got? Okay. Who would you have got if you didn't go? Like, I've got Sam goals as well, Dan. Who would you?
I'd have had Mendy. Wish I had Mendy.
So he's only outscored them by like 3 points. So far.
And it's just to cover that Wolves Everton in about months' time or whenever it is.
Paul, what's your expected CAC for Wolves?
I think they look dreadful. I haven't watched the game at the weekend. I think they look dreadful, and I think I didn't have them, but I did it the second time after saying I wasn't going to get them. But the Patricio, I think any owners that had Patricio for those captaincy days early on last season will testify about holding Wolves backline. So I have got the same feelings as you, Dan. But then I did ask myself that question of who would I have got at the overhaul, and it would have been Pickford or Mendy, and the fact that
have you got Sa to cover off that Monday the 1st of November against Everton?
I just thought their fixtures looked okay, and he was a little bit cheaper than.
I've just got him sitting there now, and I think I need him in 1st of November, 5 games time. I need him for, and they have got good games in that time. To be fair, as long as he's not on minus points and stuff. But I think I've got him in that early for a game that will probably be 1-1 or something, and I shouldn't have bothered.
I would be worried about Marcel. I thought he looked absolutely dreadful yesterday. Like really poor. And I know that I had mentioned he was a potential option for bringing in, but Altnori has been sitting on the bench in the same position. So, and I think we had spoken on Friday night, Fergi, about the manager's comments about saying it's his spot just now, and it almost felt like it's his spot until he made a mistake. So I wouldn't be surprised if they changed that up.
Indeed. We've answered most of the questions. There was just one left, which is really good and actually, and probably when we could all use just a bit of a reflection on before we move on. But how do we recover? So this is off Thomas Dunn. How do we recover from all the injuries and suspensions that have cost us transfers? So for probably experienced players, probably a bit easier. In terms of we're kind of used to all this. And the first thing which always sticks in my mind is everyone's in the same boat. And actually, with me, I actually think it plays into our hands, because it's so easy for inexperienced players or players who just love using their transfers now. They could have easily used 10, 12, 14, 15 transfers, and we're still in game week. What are we on? Game week 6 or 7 or whatever it is. So I personally think it's to our advantage, and if you can stay calm and disciplined, I actually think you'll in terms of like mini leagues, which a lot of us play for, I think you do really, really well. But I think we'll see that overall rank wise, we're all in the same boat in terms of we've all not obviously some worse than others, but I just think play it cool, don't rush. You don't need a player. If you've got an injured player like Mendy now, just as an example, you have Mendy now. You take him out for a couple of games. The player you bring him in gets a clean sheet and a blank, so it gets you 9 or 10 points. Then you have to use another transfer to bring Mendy back. You've just used 2 transfers for 10 points. It's just not worth it. Over the whole season. So I suppose they're my thoughts on that. All in the same boat, and I think it helps experienced players, or disciplined players, I should say. Paul, have you got anything to add there?
Yeah, you don't need to make the transfer, and unless I've got a plan in my head or re-engineered my plan in my head about what I'm going to do in or what my potential moves are in 2 or 3 weeks' time. So thinking about this, do I get the third big hitting striker in, or have I got the budget still to move a Ronaldo or Salah onto Kane? I would rather miss the single game and then reassess the following week and just make sure that I've got a plan in place. I'd said before, I always kind of try and block out that hour before the first kickoff on match days to have a think about sort of early team news does come out, or when you see the lineups. If there's decisions to be made, I can have a proper think about it. But if I'm out doing something or I feel rushed on it, I tend to not make a transfer and just kind of let it slide a week, miss out on one game's points, but have a proper think about it and see if you're not deviating too far away from your original plan.
How about you, Dan?
Same as what you said, mate. Like, you're in the same boat. Like, everyone today, I see on Twitter and everything, everyone done Pickford to Mendy. Loads like Marcel, 34% of teams. So if you now gets dropped, there's a lot of, it's 300 other managers in the top 1,000 in the same boat. All of them really. Trent didn't play. He was in 30, 40% of the teams on Saturday. Everyone's, just got to roll with it, and you just take your time and just come up with a plan. Just don't panic and just we're only 10% of the way into the season, aren't we? It's only been 5 games, so just chill out. And like Paul said, I try to make a little saying, but it don't really make sense yet. But like, if in doubt, leave it out. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're thinking I'll do, and you not just don't bother doing it. Just don't be rushed and panicked into doing so. Oh my God, do this, and then the worst thing you can do is making a move. Like, I brought Richarlison into one of the teams on Monday, but I had planned it since the Sunday night that we knew Calvert-Lewin weren't going to play. So it was like, I'd had a day to think about it. Oh, I'll have him for that game as captain and against Villa. And then I'll move him on to Lukaku. So I didn't do anything. Just, oh God, I'll do this spur of the moment. Everything's planned out and thought about long and hard. So yeah, just don't worry. It'll get better. The luck will change for everyone.
I think the transfers now as well, in terms of how important they are, the transfers at the end of the season are just important, right? And if you're left with no transfers at the end, and you're left without captaincy days, or you're left with crap players or injuries, it's easy to say, right? And I'm the worst for it. It's the easiest thing to say in the world, but it's it's the same transfer you're using now, right? So just ride it out and assess and just kind of do it. Yorkshire XL just can't help himself, can he? He said, calm and disciplined, was avoiding Kane's switch pre-overhaul, which I disagree with, by the way, because that was a calculated move. And then not knee-jerking at DCL news. Well, he had to go, didn't he? And I knee-jerked to Diaz. So I think, he was pre-planned to Diaz, but he can't help himself, Yorkshire XL, and he loves it. He loves sticking the knife in, don't he? He loves it. Okay, next. Actually, I think that is it, actually, for all the questions. So, onto the £500 Fantasy Football Hub League. In 10th place, Richard Shard, currently on 553. Ninth, Nima Kafai Goladami. Now, if that is Nima from Fantasy Football Hub, which I presume it is actually, because I think that's team name is the same as FPL name actually. If that is Nima, very, very well done, Nima. Absolutely flying there. Eighth, Grealicious. Jesper Dunning move up 48 places. Had a hell of a day today. Well done. Seventh, Gareth Solomon. Sixth, Mark Aston. Fifth, Elsie Bishop. Fourth, John Kerr. Some very familiar names there. Third, Dale Steele. Second, Stephen Saunders. And top of the league at the moment with 589 points, John Kerr with his team, Ramos Vamos. Very, very well played there, John. And
Johnny Belfast.
Yes, yeah. Is that him?
Yeah,
that's him.
Johnny Belfast.
Well done, Johnny.
He's got 2 teams in the top 25 or something like that.
Flying.
And he was moaning about his weekend.
Steve Saunders is in second. He was near the top of the leaderboard for a lot of last season as well.
Wow. I noticed as well, Simon Ward is in the top 100 as well.
Yeah. And Sandor Kovacs.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's up there as well. Yeah.
Flipping out. He used to enter like 500 teams in the Telegraph, didn't he, years ago? Blimey.
Yeah.
The Four Nations League, in 10th place, Ian's second team. In 9th place and 8th place, Liam. Not having the best start, Liam, but I say that you're only 20 or 30 points off. You're probably in the top 4,000 or 5,000 there, so that's fine. Dan in 7th, Ian's first team in 6th, Dan's first team in 5th. My 2 teams just ahead of Dan, only just in 3rd and 4th, and then Paul's team in 2nd. But Paul's one team is 540 points. This is your team in 234th. 264th overall, Paul. Yeah. Absolutely flying. Very, very well played indeed. And you sat with Sarah in there as well, and all these players for the coming week. So very, very handy position indeed. Very well played. John in the chat said this week's nominations, best beard Andrew. I really appreciate that. However, I'm the only one with a beard. I do think I win that a bit by default than anything else. Best dartboard, Dan. Dan, you've won the best dartboard. I'd be disappointed if you didn't win that.
Nice to win an award.
Yeah, and best accent for saying 2-2-2-2. I don't know, it's an awful accent, Paul. But,
Fergie, do your Scottish accent from
Mike Myers. What was the one he did? What was the one? Was it Sean Connery, but he sounded like he was Dutch?
No. He does Mike Myers' dad from So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Have you?
It is Mike Myers, please.
Have you seen that?
It is Mike Myers.
No, go for it, mate.
Hang on.
They were cheering up.
What's the line? It's just the "Eat paper, no," which is quite good. And I started watching a still game as well, and I love the way they say "deed" instead of "dead." Everything's "deed" in it, Paul. Is that what you speak up there? Do you say "deed"?
Right.
Can you do that, Sean Connery?
That was for the Dutch one, wasn't it? Was it when you speak Dutch like this, Mish Moneypenny?
I saw that on your FPL show,
Paul. So on this one now, if you were to say the word "dead," Dan, how would you say "dead"?
Me?
Yeah. Would you say "dead"? Dead. And Paul, you'd say
he's dead.
He's dead. He's dead.
He's dead. Aye.
Very good. So anyway, at the moment, the Scottish flag is flying high, Paul, and by the looks of it, actually, you are streets clear. So you're 26 points clear of my Welsh flag, and a couple more then off Dan. Dan and Ian.
I was only 1 point ahead of Ian going into Friday's game as well.
Yeah. Yes, you were. The English, if you remember at the overhaul, the English were flying high, and us Celts were kind of lowly underneath, but the Celts have risen over the last week. And John says he's lost his heed, now he's deed. Indeed, thanks for that. Thanks for that, John. Okay, thank you so much to everyone who did ask questions on Twitter. We really, really appreciate you spending the time to do that. So, Dan, what's upset you this week?
We've got loads of stuff here, mate. If you're just here for fantasy chat, you can go home now because we've got about 15 minutes worth of stuff here. Nah. Do you know what? After that Chelsea clean sheet and Rudiger, and I got 3 Chelsea who all actually started, which I was surprised because before the game was Thiago Silva starting. I thought, great, that's Christensen not starting. Then I'm like, oh my God, they're all starting. So I'm not too bad now. I'm annoyed at the Calvert-Lewin. I'm annoyed with myself for putting him in. Like,
just to cover and I'd said before, I'm not going to cover crap captaincy days. What did I do? I took out the can't go for him last minute. So 14 points down and a transfer. Human with that. And then just the Twitter news, like all the on the Friday, Rafinha, or Rafinha's he's out or something, and you're like, oh my god! I'd rather just in the olden days where you just get where you wouldn't even get the lineup, you'd be on teletext or something, and it's like, oh, Rafinha's not in the starting lineup. You wouldn't have all this before. Oh god, he's not going to play. Oh, he is going to play because someone's seen him on the bus, and so that annoys me. Anyway, my main point is you, Fergie, right?
Me?
Yeah, being on holiday. So
no,
I had COVID. Barely alive. You're on holiday, right? And I got quite a lot of messages about it, right? I'll give you some quotes. Can't believe he's on holiday again. For the older listeners, he's away more than Judith Chalmers. Young people, you have to Google that. What is it? Why is he not taking time off over the summer and international breaks? Agree. A joke, isn't it? Holiday again. Joke. Away more than Dominic Raab. That is. Always pissing about on other pods like that Nymphomaniacs and this, that, and the other, but hardly ever here. Yeah, agree. And he owes listeners an apology.
Well, I'm not going to apologise for going on holiday. It was a pre-booked break with my. You
should be like a teacher.
Father.
You have it off during the summer.
Well,
during the season, you're here.
I know, and now I am. Now the only Sundays I will miss between now and the end of the season. So there's a couple of international breaks, which obviously we'll have a break in between those. And it is my wife's 40th birthday in April, so I'm going to have to do something around from that.
Be buzzing and told everyone how old she is.
Oh yeah, oh God. She always says how she looks about 28 as well.
What do you think of them quotes then?
Well, in terms of the quotes, everyone can say what they want, really. I don't like.
I just made them all up, to be honest.
Did you really, swine? I don't really care.
And also, right, this football content awards, right? That's a load of rubbish, isn't it? No nomination for this show.
I know,
but your Green Arrow did.
It's FPL, mate, isn't it? It's just FPL. It's just a worldwide.
You're telling me that show's better than this. Come off it.
Worldwide audience, mate.
I know you're on it, right? So it's me and Paul. You're saying Hopcroft. Surely me and Paul outweigh him. You must not be pulling your weight on this show.
I'm not.
You must be saving the best stuff for that.
I'm not saying anything at all, mate. Well, on both shows every week, I plugged the FCAs on both shows.
That's
every week.
That's because you have props and stuff on that show, innit?
It's because I got the violin in that. So did you get the violin out?
Oh, I would have needed it, mate. If Chelsea hadn't kept a clean sheet.
If Adam Hopcroft is listening to this, for those who watch the Green Arrow as well on Tuesday, you're gonna want to watch it this week because Adam played his wild card with 15 minutes to go on Friday, and it hasn't gone as planned, shall we say? So if you do play FE, he's lost his heed. I hope he's not deed. Brilliant. Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Dan.
But no, I was just joking. Like I say, I'm just joking with all that stuff. Do you know what I mean?
But with all the Twitter stuff you mentioned as well, you're so right. Do you know what? I feel so bad because I'm not as active on Twitter these days as I used to be by an absolute mile, right? And it's because every time I go onto Twitter, all I read are fake rumors all the time, and it just gets on my nerves. And I just think, oh my God, I switch off, and I get like DMs, and I get notifications, and then people asking me things and messaging. But every time I go on, oh my goodness, it just absolutely riles me.
Problem as well, I don't know if I told you, but Paul, I knew last Sunday that Calvert-Lewin was going to be out. Said to Paul, Calvert-Lewin's going to be out. Couldn't put it on Twitter, but I thought, God, if I put it on Twitter, I'm just going to get abused for 24 hours. That what's your source? Not this, that, and the other. It wouldn't be worth it, would it? And then you come through and it's like, oh yeah, actually you was right, but you'd have got
10,000. You'd have got 10,000 more followers.
Yeah, probably.
You would. Maybe you should.
You'd have beat the cat. You'd have beat the cat.
200 behind the cat now, coming for him.
Only 200 behind the cat.
Yeah. I was going to say as well, right? Do you know what? People comments and stuff, right? Makes me laugh. I went on my bite-sized channel. Someone wrote on there like, "Oh, Dan splitting." Like, I didn't split from this. Like, this has been on this pod for over a year, and that from the start when we had like 100 viewers, and now we've got like 4,000 or something.
No, we got 105.
Just tonight, over the whole week there'll be 4,000 when this all hit 4,000 views.
I'm joking.
So anyway, I like read through the comments. One of them was like, Dan's like Robbie Williams when he left Take That, smashing out the hits. I'm like, well, Angels, I'll take the first couple of years at Angels, not by the time he gets to Rude Box and stuff. The next comment was like, didn't know Matt Hancock likes fantasy sports.
I mean, just
Matt
cracks you up, doesn't it?
I love
Yeah,
that.
I still get that, and I thought, is that someone who listens to our show? Or is it just someone else random chipping in? They think, but
I forgot.
one minute you
about
appear to
that.
Robbie Williams, and then it's like, Matt, I said, Jesus, but no, I ain't got really rant. Mate, I just want to say, people like just chill out. I've seen like people saying like, going to quit the game and can't be bothered and all that. It's like it's been crap for everyone, like apart from Paul, who's had SAR and just
Lucky Paul.
Unbelievable, innit?
I remember.
I
remember last year, Paul spunked Ben White, didn't he, for like a Friday night captaincy? When was it? Ings injured or something, and he just sat on Ben White. So bloody lucky. But anyway, Lucky Paul, we'll have to call him now.
But we're all in the same boat, so just chill out. There, things will get better. But yeah, no real rant really. Just having a laugh, and it's what it's all about, isn't it?
It is indeed. Okay, so Dan, John does say actually that Dan's bite size, and this is right actually, should be renamed Large Chunks. Because it started off like you were like, I'm only going to do 5-minute videos, boys, and it's like 25 minutes, half an hour.
Oh, no.
What's going on?
You brought Eddie out of retirement as well, Dan.
Yeah, convinced him to do some as well. Yeah,
like doing short pods.
Yeah, loving it. I do like that little bite size hours, but I'm going to keep it bite size because the last one's 25 minutes. So what I decided now is going to do a 15-minute and a 10-minute one. So they're still under 15 minutes, but I'll do 2 a week. So I'll do something the next couple of days, and then I'll do something Thursday, Friday, or something like that.
If you haven't subscribed to Dan's channels, you can never say that we never support you, Dan. Make sure you
you
subscribe to Sky Bite Size. Dan does a couple of videos.
I think it's everyone who listens to this that subscribes to that as well. So thanks for subscribing. I'm nearly at 1,000. So I'll soon be able to start advertising Viagra and hair loss products or life insurance, everything that sort of pops up on my thing. I'm thinking, what do they know?
Have you been
your Google history? I think that.
God no, that would be worse than that, mate.
That's the incognito ones, and they can't find those.
Where's the private mode? Oh, there.
Dan, where can people find you?
Twitter. I'm active on Twitter. Dan Cox _FFH.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
and
right.
Yeah, the bite size. Please, if you haven't had a look, check out the bite size Sky Bite Size on YouTube.
Dan does his article every week as well on fantasyfootballhub.co.uk for Hub members. Paul, where can we find you?
Twitter at Paul McAnulty 1 MCANULTY.
And right at the top of all the Sky leaderboards as well, because you're absolutely flying. Very well played. And as usual, thank you all so much for all those who have joined us live, and for those who either watch it back or listen back. Your continued support is much, much appreciated, as always. My Twitter handle is at @FFH_Fergi. All our handles are under our name, so if you do want to follow us on Twitter, make sure you do. So this podcast and video will be on the Fantasy Football Hub, Sky and TFF YouTube channel, and also available in all major podcast platforms. If you like what you watched, please click the like button. Please click. We've had loads of people pop in and watch. We've only got 30 likes. Come on, give us a like if you're still watching. We do really, really appreciate it, and it really does help us out. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast versions on Apple. Please leave us 5 stars and leave some comments. It would be much, much appreciated. Our handles on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok are at FFH_HQ, and our podcast Twitter handle is at FFH_Sky. Please follow and feel free to ask any questions. Our website is fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, where you will find everything you need for fantasy football all under one roof, including player comparison tools, the fixture ticker, Opta stats, top player team reveals, and much, much more. That goes for Sky Fantasy, Telegraph Fantasy, FPL, Dream Team. Everything is all covered on there for all Hub members. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We'll be back next Sunday, looking ahead to Game Week 8. Stay safe, and good night all.